Hey everyone, welcome to Meet the Makers. I'm Nick Mataragas, the artistic director of the Elgin Fringe Festival. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Hopefully you've joined us a couple other times as well. If not, well, welcome. We appreciate you joining us for tonight. Tonight I'm interviewing, and you can be interviewing as well, I guess, if you feel like adding questions into our Facebook Live feed, which you are more than welcome to. In fact, please do so. I am joined by the man, the myth, the legend, the accordion, Dan Beamer, who is also known as Captain Ambivalent.
Howdy, everybody.
So welcome. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Whenever it is.
Yeah, tonight. It's all blurred together at this point. You are a Fringe regular. I don't know if I've ever been to an Elgin Fringe without you being a part of it. When did you start doing Fringes with us?
Second year. So last year I got a 5-year certificate.
Wow.
Thingy.
That is amazing. That is so cool. And if people don't know, Captain Ambivalent is this, I don't even know how to explain it. There's a lot of glitter and there's an accordion, and maybe it's best if you describe your character a little bit.
Oh, golly. Well, I know. Yeah, they're big sparkly gold boots and gold sequined accordion and cape and belt. And in normal times, I would be roaming the streets trying to drum up interest and talking to humans like in real life and not just over Zoom. And but this year's show used a number of different characters besides Captain Ambivalent. So I thought it wouldn't really be fair to wear the captain outfit for this discussion. Now I am wearing a shirt that someone got me. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there are tiny little mustaches.
Nice.
Is the pattern on the shirt. And someone, a good friend of mine, got me this after seeing the preview in honor of Guy Slamet.
Right, because you do play multiple characters in this, sometimes at the same time, which is great. And yeah, Guy Slamet is one of them. You have a David Bowie character, which, by the way, I think the captain is a little bit Bowie-esque, anyways, with the sequin boots.
Hopefully in a good way.
Yeah, no, definitely in a good way. I don't know how that would be in a bad way, being like Bowie.
Well, Labyrinth.
Fair enough. I don't know if you know this or if you remember this, but I think the first time you and I actually interacted was the preview night a few years ago. And I also was in character, and I went up to introduce my show, Freak of the Week, and I basically came up right after you, and it was my character basically going, "What is going on over there?" with your character. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, of course.
That was I think my first time actually interacting with you at all. And then a lot of people don't know this. Not only have you performed at the festival, but you've worked at the festival as well. Yeah. You were our tech director for my show last year.
Yeah.
Which was great, and you were fantastic to work with on that.
Oh, thanks.
I do want to talk about your show though, because it is its own thing, and I think that's the cool thing about Captain Ambivalent in general, is he is his own thing, and the show is its own thing. And my first question, the first two questions I wrote down on the paper were each one word. My first question is how.
Well, so my mother was part of a secret government experiment project in cloning.
Okay.
And so sort of like they based that Orphan Black TV show off of my experiences. So really, after many years, we all found each other, and it was one word is green screen. Yeah, I guess that might be two words. Anyway, one compound word, green screen.
It was like a ton of it too, and like what was really cool is you didn't just do a green screen background. You did like both. You did green screen background and foreground pieces as well. So you created depth within the green screen, and then you layered multiple yous in different versions um, at the same time on there, which was, I'm guessing, especially because your show is all about music, like getting the timing right had to be a challenge.
Um, no, well, let's see, so when the pandemic started, I was kind of caught unawares because I had just done like studio recording, and I wasn't even set up to do like live recording of singing and playing the accordion at the same time. So I had to get over that hurdle first, and then I had to figure out how to light the green screen. But then the actual execution, it was not all that difficult because the main voice and playing the accordion was recorded at the same time, and then I would like overdub the backing voices and then do the backing video characters lip syncing to their parts.
Oh,
So it really went together pretty easily. Now the lighting is where I had some challenges there, because like if you were a pro at this, you would be able to light everything so it looked seamless. But I don't know, I hope it added to the fringy charminess that it wasn't technically perfect.
no, it definitely did. I think it did. And it felt very much like the right thing for what you were doing.
Okay.
And one of the things that this show plays with, and I'm going to try my best not to spoil the show for anyone. And if you have questions, please ask them on Facebook Live, but no spoilers, please. Is this, you played with scale, and like all but like your starting point backdrop are all like things that are much smaller, toys or things like that. And so it was an interesting choice, because a lot of times when people use green screen, they use, like a photo from like the Coliseum or whatever, right? So that they're trying to keep it kind of in real scale. And you decided almost immediately, you're like, forget that, I'm doing this at like as if Captain and all these characters are, this tall. So how did you come to that decision?
So we knew we would have to do it virtually, and we've been sort of like confined to home. And I guess I was thinking about it. I started out thinking, well, I want to make it feel like a live Fringe show. But then I started thinking about, well, in a live Fringe show, you kind of react off the venue that you're in. Well, what's the venue that I'm in? Well, it's my house, and it's whatever's inside my mind, because that's where you never have to distance from your imagination and your imaginary friends. So it just kind of felt natural to be kind of like a small, big scale. Everything was definitely within my house. I wound up taking up quite a bit of the house to do it, but it just felt. And then what else do I have in the house? Well, I've got a whole bunch of costumes, and I could do like full costume changes that are harder to do in a Fringe show when you're doing it live. And I have like all these old toys that I had growing up with. And oh yeah, well, this would be really a cool setting to, so I could have set changes. So I could build sets out of toys, because that's what I have around, and it's easier than, building stuff. So it just sort of all grew out of that, creating a show in the pandemic, and kind of, the lockdown or quarantine or whatever you want, distancing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I think that's really cool, and I totally see that, using what you have around you like that. You mentioned you have a lot of costumes already, and one of the things I noticed immediately, and I wrote down as a question, was, where do you get your wigs? Because you have like all of these wigs and extravagant costumes, and you said you have these already?
I've accumulated them over the years of Halloween parties and various performances, and they just kind of accumulate. Now, I did order, the foam wigs were new for this. I didn't want to run out and buy a whole bunch of stuff. I kind of wanted to work with what I had in house, but I really wanted to do, see, I had a goatee and mustache for a while, so I haven't really been able to do like the female character thing, but I knew I wanted a female chorus member. I just seen a friend perform in like a pink beehive wig, and something about that just grabbed me. I knew that my female chorus needed to have beehive wigs of some kind, so I found them at a foam wig manufacturer in Texas who was really hungry for business because of the current, people aren't really doing parties with foam hats now. So so I got her wig and I got the male chorus guy's wig from them. And then I was just like looking through their site, and they had all kinds of stuff. They had like Uncle Sam hat, they had this funky Carmen Miranda fruit basket. Then they had one that like combined the Uncle Sam and the Carmen Miranda fruit basket. And I was like, oh, that just felt like such an of the moment kind of thing with a whole bunch of complexities underneath. And I just thought, I have to build a character around that. So that was the biggest purchase in the props and costumes for this particular show. I did not look back. Yes.
That is awesome. That is so cool that you kind of found them all at the one place, and that basically the main, I guess, antagonist of the show used that fruit hat, which is really cool. I kind of want to ask a little bit, because we talked about like how the show was built technically and all of this, but there's kind of this through line, and the title of the show, by the way, is Captain Ambivalent is in Denial. And that's the idea, the theme of the show in a lot of ways, and that is that Captain kind of has this epiphany, or struggles to have the epiphany, that some of the things he's saying are not quite hip with the times anymore. And is that something that like you were like you dealt with like just yourself, like through aging, or was that something like you're like, Captain just doesn't get it, he's a little bit of little oblivious on the world right now, or where did that come from?
Well, so at so I guess even before the whole process I just talked about, kind of there are so many crises and things coming to a head in the world right now, and they've all been made worse by denial, by people denying that they're problems at all, and yeah, trying to ignore them. And so I thought, so how am I going to do in this environment? How am I going to do my show with this straight middle-aged white guy doing comedy, maybe giving people a little break of escape, but without contributing to that whole atmosphere of denial, and then I just thought, well, okay, well, let's just take it head on and kind of build the show around that whole concept of denial never solving anything. And so really, I just rolled in, tons of issues, kind of covered the gamut from the individual to the societal.
That's awesome, and I think that's a good way to put it. I think that's very fitting for the times, is that idea of people being in denial. And then some of the things that stood out to me, and we don't have to get into too much detail because I don't want to ruin them for people, but there's like one song that I think really stood out to me was actually there were two songs that stood out to me, and they're kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum in maturity level, to kind of go into that. And one is about basically a person in denial, once again, about kind of mansplaining or the male ego. And
yeah.
And so there's this song that's really well done. Like, I really love the fact that it comes from the perspective of the person with the male ego just being obviously wrong. And then you have a song not too long after about 12 bananas and an orifice that is not on one's face. And like, how did you decide like these are both going in the show?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Well, that is good. Well, I kind of had there was kind of like a kids section of the show that came after all right, let me see if I can condense this down. So part of the impetus to have the different characters is because like the rate of new Captain Ambivalent material has been slowly declining because I've been doing it for 15 years or so. And I had a whole bunch of songs that I kind of liked, but they weren't exactly good fits for the captain. But then I realized I could give them to other people to sing. And especially after the Buford P. Wallaby sort of country-ish Americana songs were all like, they're like a little on the sexist side. They're a little you know, in a you know, a little less aware of current events or something. And so I thought that song would be kind of an antidote bookend for that. Uh, uh, and then it kind of, you know, kind of the denial about that led naturally into sort of a little kid themed section.
Right. No, I totally get that. That makes total sense. And yeah, I can see that because it's one of those things where sometimes we reach towards our inner child without even realizing it. And so I think that kind of worked with that as well. So there's just one, like most of the piece is a series of static backdrops through the green screen, but there is one kind of traveling moment, I guess is a good way to put it, where we have a mobile shot that you put in there using a model train. And it's like almost like a Rube Goldberg journey for this train. How did you like figure out how to set that up? And then how did you actually get the shot set up on that train?
Sure. Well, that was one of when I was thinking about things that one could do inside one's own home that one could never do in like a traditional Fringe show. For some reason that came to mind because I had this old vintage Marx train set. Now, you know, Lionel was for the rich kids. Marx was for the other kids. So that's what my dad's family had. And anyway, so I knew I wanted to do it, and it just, originally I had visions of trying to make it all seem like one seamless shot, and I would somehow, you know, like lower the camera down and have it just go, and that just didn't work out technically. But you know, it's okay. But I had to, well, I happen to have right here, this is the old Marx engine, actually numbered 666. That's the way they sold it. I couldn't believe it. It's perfect. So it's in the show art. I used this, and it also was it had a smoking function. You had this little fluid. You put an eyedropper in the chimney, and then as it drove around, these little wisps of fake smoke would come out, which looks really nothing at all like a steam engine. It looks more like I don't know, like a cross between a dying cigarette and a vaping pipe. But you can see it in the video if you look. And then I had a whole lot of experimentation to do to figure out how to light it, and to focus the whole journey. And I had a little wooden plug that held my iPhone on the back end of it. And in the great cleanup, I lost the wooden plug. So I can't show you that part. But I think I wound up having I did like several different passes with different focal lengths set on the camera because the autofocus just didn't work at all. It couldn't do that. And so that probably, you know, of like the approximately 7 weeks of creation time for the show, like a good, you know, there was a good like 2 or 3 of them were devoted to the train ride sequence, and probably another good 2 or 3 were devoted to figuring out how to light the green screen.
Well, that's awesome. And I think the train ride sequence works great. And I love not just the fact that it's perspective from the train like that, but also that you've set up like little scenes along the journey. And I think that was really well done.
This could be kind of like a little art installation type deal. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And obviously I think it would be weird not to talk about the other character, or the other performer in the show, I should say. Obviously, you're the only human performer in the show, but we would be remiss not to talk about the accordion.
Oh,
because it's definitely one of the stars of the show, I think. So I kind of want to ask you, how did you get into the accordion? Why did you decide that that is Captain Ambivalent's signature thing is the accordion? And yeah, just kind of those things.
well, when I got an accordion from a great aunt when I was in like middle school or high school. Um, Dinked around with it a little bit. What I really wanted to do was play keyboard in college. So I had like electronic keyboards and stuff. Well, then I got out of college and I had no car, I was in an apartment. You can't like schlep a keyboard set up around on the bus to gigs. It was a pain in the butt to deal with. I never seemed to be coordinated enough to be able to play a keyboard and sing at the same time at that point. And so after fighting with that for a long time and I kind of really wanted a standard rock band type sound, but then trying to get a band together was awful. Just trying to schedule, getting the right people. I had to work, it was just tough. And so at some point, I finally had the epiphany that I had this accordion here, and look, you strap it to your chest, and you can sing, and you can play it, and it's portable. And I did a couple of songs for a Halloween party at my house, and it seemed to go over well. And I thought, well, this is I'm going to stick with this. And the Captain Ambivalent was named after the first two songs I played was the Captain Ambivalent theme song and the Thousand Miles song, both of which are in this show. And because they kind of turned into hits as Captain's greatest hits, using air quotes. And so that when I was trying to figure out, when I was going to get my first actual paying concert, then the question came, how do I want to be known as a performer? Because I'd just been going around to open mics, putting my name down, Dan, and that's when I decided to be Captain Ambivalent. And because I'm kind of slow, it took several years after that before I discovered I should really have a costume to go with it. And that's when things kind of kicked into gear, as far as the whole performance kind of came together.
That's interesting. So you said you've been doing the character for about 15 years now, right? How has Captain Ambivalent evolved over that 15-year span?
Probably the costume, that was kind of the watershed. Before that, I was going around with just like, a flannel shirt and jeans and just like playing the songs. I had this very giant accordion. It's not the one I use now, but it was a real stomach Steinway. And then I had a turning point where after I've been doing it for many years, it suddenly emerged that my mom knew somebody who was married to a comedy promoter in Louisville, Kentucky, and they got him he kind of set it up for me to play breaks for a jug band at a pizza parlor in Louisville, so that so he could sort of give me some evaluation and pointers. And it was absolutely the worst gig ever. I had never failed to connect with an audience the way I failed that night. The highlight or the low light of the evening was I actually had a little kid come up and stand in front of the stage like this. so I walked over to his table afterwards, and he's sort of like, so how did you think that went? But he had some really good, very basic pointers that all seem very obvious in retrospect. And the first point was, have a costume. You're going to be Captain Ambivalent. Give people a real reason to look at you. The other thing he said was that accordion really doesn't sound very good. I've heard people play accordion before, and that one just doesn't sound good. And so what I found out when I did some systematic testing and found that it was sounding really good to me above it, but out into the audience, it was really thin, and it didn't have any, it kind of and a little harsh. So I did a bunch of tests and tried different accordions and found this one I use now that's a little smaller, still a little bit on the harsh side, but the I had the gold one, and then I have the one that's the Honer that Buford plays. That was actually my great aunt's from way back, and so it has a slightly different sound, but it wasn't quite as flashy. So the gold sparkly was definitely the way to go.
Now, playing the accordion has to, so like, I think when people like think about the accordion, they don't visualize it completely. They just think about the squeezing part, and they don't see like the keyboard on the one side and then the buttons on the other. Like, but when you see someone playing it, you can see the complexity of it. How hard is it to play the accordion?
Well, I took like 9 years of piano lessons as a kid, so that kind of got the right hand down, and the left hand looks hard, um, but it's basically a button is either a bass note or a chord. So, and there's different rows. There's like a bass note, counter bass note, major, minor, seventh, minor seventh chords, and that's it. And then they're arranged in the circle of fifths, so like F, C, G, D, A. So if you're doing a 3-chord, most of my songs are like 3-chord pop songs, and so you don't have to really jump too far. And I think over the years, I've gradually figured out how to do different things with the bass notes that make it a little bit better than just the and pa. Um, but it was very, very sort of self-taught. I'm in awe of actual skilled accordion players who can really like jump around and do complicated chord progressions. But not me. I just figure out how to do neat things with the bass notes. Actually, a couple of the Buford songs use a more advanced technique where you can sort of boom, 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 which that part's actually hard. So I don't know. You can't really probably the easy things look hard and the hard things look easy.
That's fair. You're talking about the Buford scene, and that's there were a couple of moments visually where I'm like, wow, that's cool that he set it up that way. So did you actually, like the Buford scene, did you actually create that campfire setting yourself?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Because like it so worked so well.
All of those toys came from were mine or my sister's. I got some of her toys she didn't want. Yep. There was the GI, let's see. I think that the campfire came, the orange tower in the back. I don't want to give too much away. Let's see. Well, I'll say that there was see, my grandparents at a certain point discovered that I was interested in GI Joes, and so every Christmas I would get like a bounty of really cool GI Joe playsets and such. So I forget what they call it, the training tower maybe. Anyway, there was, everything was there, and I think that they were all from, but we always combined the GI Joes and the Barbies and Kens, and I think I had a $6 Million Man figure in there too. So yeah, I just still had all that stuff, and actually I'd given some of it to a younger cousin, and had recently gotten it back. It's like, well, I don't know I know what I could do with this. So I've been kind of thinking I would use it someday in some kind of artistic fashion, but this was just the time.
I think it worked. I mean, it felt like a composed scene, so that is
yeah,
super cool. Out of curiosity, does this inspire you to do more video-based work with your stuff, or?
Yeah, I think I mean, well, certainly there's incentive to in the next, I don't know, 6 months, year, whatever. But I enjoy it. I hadn't dabbled in videos. The last time I dabbled in video was like 2000, like 20 years ago. And the technology has come a long way since then. It's a lot more fun. I think the fact that Final Cut Pro had a 90-day free trial contributed a lot to the show.
I am sure that helped a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I'm definitely gonna do some more stuff. I had to figure out the way you guys figured out how to do an actual like paywall Fringe festival. video, I really liked how that works. So I'm going to try to figure out how to at least kind of to try to publicize and to at least get some token monetization of it.
Sure. I think that's something that a lot of artists are trying to figure out right now is how to, do the things they want to do and still make, I mean, not make money, but like make something back, and I think that's something we're all kind of working on right now.
Just to be able to afford to do it.
Right. Just to be able to keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or not even break even, just break a little bit less bad on it.
Exactly. Soften the landing a little. No.
Like less red ink. That's good. So where do you see your shows going in the future then? Because like you've obviously expanded your number of characters now. Do you see like doing in a live show, doing multiple characters, and how would you do that?
I don't know. I've toyed with the. I think that Buford and Guy Slamet are already hinting at getting their own albums, and because I think I have enough songs in their particular styles to make it work. And so I'm thinking about that sort of thing. I'm thinking about. I mean, I could see a show being conducted by a different character other than Captain Ambivalent, or see, live I found that really like the minimalist costume changes are much better.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's some shows that I started out with more costume changes and wound up paring it down because it just kind of like you get this dead spot in the show as you're struggling in and out of something. I've seen other people do that well. Usually they have like a video clip over the change, or they have a particular song that works into it. So I could try some of that, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think I would do as many.
That's fair.
So just for like space, because you have to load in and load out in 10 minutes. And
yeah, that's the hard part. That's a fair point. I think it'd be weird not to talk to you about this, but like, so about 2 days into the festival, you send us an email basically going, "Hey, I watched all the shows. Here are images of me reacting to all of the shows." And I wasn't the first one to see the email, but I saw it and I'm just like, amazing. What inspired you to do that?
Well, you asked. I mean, we got an email asking for reaction shots of the shows.
But it's so great.
And so, it's okay. So some of the things that I was thinking about that were harder to do that you get in a physical festival. And one of those is like going around to everybody else's show in costume, both the artists are always sort of promoting each other. Like at your show, so like at my show at the end, we say, "Is anybody here? Other performers that want to plug their own shows?" And people can stand up and say something, or it's just a lot of artists supporting each other's shows and seeing it. And so this seemed like a way to do that, to like, it's sort of like equal amounts self-promotion and other promotion all together. And at first I was just going to do like my favorites, and I thought, well, that's not really fair. I really have to, you have to do everybody's. I wanted to watch everybody's show and do a reaction shot of some kind for everybody, and have them all be positive, because I think they all need, as much positivity as we can come up with without going into denial. So anyway, it's just kind of trying to get some. Well, also I thought that it might encourage other people to do similar things. So far, not so good. But what the heck?
Everyone else is like, "Well, he did it. It's fine."
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to be the only one.
It's amazing, and how quickly you turned around to do it. Like you watched all those shows, and then you made all of those little graphics in such a quick period of time.
Well,
did you
yeah,
sleep?
watching all the shows was, it was like a binge weekend. Well, it was kind of there's a little bit that the thing that I was not prepared, I was prepared for this process to be kind of weird. The thing I was the least prepared for to be weird is that, putting in like 7 weeks of intensive work, you get uploaded to the Fringe for further developments, and then it's like nothing for a week and a half or 2 weeks, and it's like no feedback. It's just sort of like out there, and you don't get the audience feedback, and that was just kind of, yeah. So anyway, so it was hard to move on to other projects and stuff because it was just kind of this weird limbo feeling. So it was easy to work a video binge into that environment, and it kind of helped. And then as far as the images go, it was just a little bit on the couch. It was just, the costume changes, and it didn't take all that long to do that as standard, template. I knew what size the graphics would be, and just but it was fun.
They're fantastic. And you mentioned something that's actually a really good point. And this idea of, I mean, everybody that's submitted to the Fringe is a live performer. They're used to having an audience in front of them. They're used to, preparing the show and then performing it and then it being done and kind of moving on. And going into this virtual setting where it's pre-recorded video and where it's running, without you being there for that amount of time, there is a different mindset, and it's kind of a weird thing. Like even right now, like you were talking about it, and I'm just like, oh yeah, my show's up somewhere right now. Maybe somebody's watching it. And like that is such a weird like difference for a performer.
It's a little bit like releasing an album, maybe.
Okay.
So I had that kind of analogy of, except you're usually supporting that with some live shows, but you sort of send it out there, and you don't never know what's going to happen.
Oh dear, I can't not react to what's going on right now.
Oh crap! Get back to the basement now. Jeez. Where were we?
I was actually about to talk about something else.
Okay.
So I don't know if you realize this, but I'm 90% sure I'm right about this, but you are the reason we're doing this interview series, the Meet the Makers interview series, because we had a Zoom meeting with all the artists right after we decided to go virtual, and I believe it was you that was like talking about a way to not replace, but to kind of supplement the fact that we don't have the opportunity, people don't have the opportunity to talk to the artists before and after the shows.
Yeah.
And that was something that, I thought about for a while. And I'm like, that is really something that is very much Elgin Fringe. Like, as soon as the show's over, people come up, talk to you, whatever, or you run into them on the street and they're like, hey, I just saw your show. And that's kind of that comment kind of led to what we're doing now.
Oh, cool. Well, that's great.
Yeah. So just curious, planning on coming back next year?
Oh, sure.
Hopefully in person?
Yeah, who knows? We'll just we'll roll with it. Yeah. But it's definitely, definitely Elgin is definitely it was my best Fringe audience, so that's why I keep coming back.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, I hope either way, whether it's in person or with a million of you on a green screen, I hope we see you again next year, because I really love it, and I think that everyone that interacts with you is not just loves your work, but also just really enjoys your presence at the festival as well. And I think that's something that we all miss a little bit right now. But I want to thank you again for doing the interview with me tonight. I really appreciate it. If you haven't seen his show, it's Captain Ambivalent is in Denial. It is available until October 4th for you to view for only $5. Only $5. That's it. And that $5 goes right back to Dan. So please put that $5 in there. Watch his amazingly creative show. If you want to watch all the shows in the festival, it's only $50. And once again, that money goes back to the artist as well. So please do that. Also, if you're in the Elgin area and you love art, you should come down to the gallery here at Site Street Studio Arts, where I am right now. It's open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And we have the Fringe visual art show going on right now, which is amazing. And there is some really great work that is for sale that you can buy. And that money goes back to the artists too. This is the thing. It helps all the artists. But I just want to thank everyone for watching, whether it's live or afterwards. Thank you so much for watching. And I want to thank Dan Beamer once again. Please check out Captain Ambivalent is in Denial. I will be back tomorrow at noon with Ben Dudley. So thank you all very much.